Hey students, we are going to be exploring lesson 3.2 today, and that has to do with writing expressions. Let's look at our bell work for the day. To begin with, we are going to do some cross simplifying and then solve the problem. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do on this problem is look for cross products here. We're going to see if they have any common factors. And 3 and 6 have a common factor of 3. So I ask myself, how many times does 3 go into 3? Once. How many times does 3 go into 6? Twice. And then I always look at the other cross product to make sure that and see if it can simplify. And we have a 7 and a 14, and they have a common factor of 7. So I ask myself, how many times does 7 go into 7? Once. And how many times does it go into 14? Twice. And then we just multiply what those numbers have changed into. So the 7 and the 3 both changed into 1. So we're going to go 1 times 1 is 1. And the 6 and the 14 both changed into 2s. So 2 times 2 is 4. So my answer is 1/4. All right, let's move on. We are looking at a rectangle here. And if you remember, to find the area of a rectangle is length times width is what they teach in 5th grade. But we're going to start to shift our thought for, instead of length, we're going to call it base. So we're going to do base times height equals area. So now the confusion on that base times height is that sometimes the base is the top. So if you want to think about it, well, if this rectangle is 3.5 that way, then we know it's 3.5, or I'm sorry, 8.5. We know that it's 8.5 here. And we also know that this is 4.5 over here. So to find the area, we have to take the base and the height. So we have to take both those numbers. So 8.5 times 4.5. Now we're dealing with those mixed numbers, those pesky mixed numbers, where we need to turn them into improper fractions. So to do that, remember, 8 times 2 is 16, plus 1 is 17. And we just bring that denominator down, and it's 2. And then we go 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9 over 2. Okay? Then we check for our cross simplification, and we can see that 2 and 9, they don't have any common factors, so we can't simplify. And 17 and 2, no common factors, so we can't simplify. So we're just going to multiply. So I'm going to go 17 times 9 is 63. The 9 plus 6 is 115. So we have 153 over 4. Again, we have an improper fraction, so we need to do some division. So 153 divided by 4. 4 goes into 15 3 times. That gives me 12. We subtract, we get a 3. We bring down a 3. And 4 goes into 33 8 times. And that gives me 32. We're left with 1. So we bring it up, and we take that 4 from over here, and that's our new denominator. So we are left with 38 and 1/4 as our answer. Okay, moving on to, oh, that didn't erase like I wanted to. Give me a minute. Okay, fixed it. So we're going back to this expanded form, standard form, exponent form. And so we know that we have an exponent of 9 to the first power. So our expanded form would just be 1, 9. And our standard form, well, what's 9? It's just 9. Okay, so our next one, our expanded form would be 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. So 4 tens. And then what is 10 times 10 times 10 times 10? Or a 1 with 4 zeros. Nope, that's one too many. We have 1,000. Okay, so expanded form here, 12 times 12, or 12 to the second power. It's not 24, it's 12 times 12, which is 144. Okay, there's your bell work. Let's move on to your journal. All right, we are now on page 49 of your journal. So we're talking about words in math here. And this is going to help you out on your assignment. So just for a moment, I'm going to just kind of minimize that one so we can kind of focus on this. So I am going to go through and write in what these are. So you're going to need to hit pause on your video, or we'll be here for a long time. So if you'll just hit pause and fill in what I fill into these little blanks, that's probably going to be the easiest way. And then I'll talk about it after I fill it in. So after you see what is written in these little rectangles right here, you can hit pause. Okay, so you can see here that I have got these written in. You're going to need to do the same thing in your journal. So whether that means you pause it right now and write those in, or as I talk, you start writing them in. Because there's a couple of things I want to point out. The big thing on here, and it's pretty self-explanatory except for this more than. Whenever you see the then, you got to flip what you're talking about around. So if I have 4 more than n, well, what did you start out with when you were saying 4 more than n? Well, you started out with n, and then you have 4 more, and I actually made a mistake on that. It should be plus. So that is how you write 4 more than n. The difference of m and 3. So I want to know the difference between m and 3. So difference means that we're subtracting, so m minus 3. V divided by 5, remember, we are starting to write divided with the fraction bar. K doubled, well, 2 times k. 10 less than, again, we have that than. So see how I flip those around? So you're going to have to do that. The sum of x and 8, I did that wrong too. So let me fix that. I'm glad I went through this again. The sum means add. So x plus 8. Okay, the next one, the product of h and 15. I know that the h is before the 15, but the proper way when we're writing these expressions is to do the number and then the variable. So making our coefficient. So 15h. 3 fewer than, again, another one with the than. So we'll see how I flip those around. So w minus 3. Z increased by 9 is z plus 9. Then we have take away 4 from k. Well, what did we start out with? We started out with a k, and then we took 4 away from it. So we took away 4 from the k. So we started out with the k minus 4. So twice the number x is 2x. 14 subtracted from r. So we started out with r, and we subtract 14. The quotient of 22 and m. So 22 divided by m, because quotient means divide. And then 17 decreased by c. So I had 17, and then I decreased it by c. So there's how you do that. So hopefully that makes sense to you. Even though I made a couple of mistakes as I was hurriedly going through that, I fixed those. So hopefully that makes sense to you, because you're going to have to refer to that for your assignment here in a few minutes. So let's take a look at this second one. So these are the word phrases for expressions. And on this, it's talking about multiplication and addition. So it gives you the expression up here, and then it tells you how you could write that with words. So 4 times y, so 4y. 4 multiplied by y, same thing. The product of 4 and y. So there's lots of ways to write it, but if you look at it, which one takes the least amount of writing? This, 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 or this? Well, this one takes the least amount of writing. So I would say that that's the most correct way to write that. Or I would even say this, 4 parentheses y is also one you could add into that. Let's look at the next example, x plus 15. So you got x plus 15, 15 added to x. The sum of x and 15, 15 more than x, and x increased by 15. For division, x divided by 2. So x divided by 2, you would write like that. The quotient of x and 2 would be that. This actually should be an x, not an a. So that makes more sense. So you could write it like this. but I'm going to give you a hint and a secret. If you learn to write your division like that from now on, it's going to make your life easier in the years to come when you do other mathematics. So I would like you to start writing it with the fraction bar. Okay, so we're looking at subtraction now. S minus 7, or 6. So we have 6 subtracted from S. 6 less than S. S decreased by 6. Subtract 6 from S and take away 6 from S. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways I can write the same thing, the same expression. And that is the same in like when you're doing language arts. When you're writing something, is there different words that mean the same thing? Yeah, we're talking about synonyms. And these are synonymous expressions that mean the same thing. So there's lots of ways that you can say things, but they do ultimately mean the same thing. And that's what we're talking about here in mathematics, is that there's lots of different ways we can write it in words, but it really amounts to be the same thing. So let's move on. All right, here's your practice. And I told you you're going to want to refer to that journal, because here are some problems. I mean, they're just almost exactly like that. So if you have your journal open, you can be very successful at this. So if we're looking at number 1 says 5 less than 8. So remember, it has a than, so we have to flip things. So it's going to be 8 minus 5 is our answer. Number 2, the product of 3 and 12. Well, you can write that in a lot of different ways, but I think that this is the most concise way to write it. But if you wrote 3.12, that would also be correct. We want to leave that x out, though, guys. We don't want to use x for multiplication anymore, because we're going to start looking at algebra, and we sometimes use x as a variable, and it can get confusing if you're using it for multiplication and for our variable. So we have to have something else. So that parentheses or that dot, both of those work out just great. So here we have 28 divided by 7. So I'm taking 28 divided by 7. The total of 6 and 10, well, that would be 6 plus 10. 8 fewer than 18. So a then again, so we have to flip things. 18 minus 3. The sum of 12 and a number t. So we have 12 plus t. I know that t looks kind of weird, but the plus looks like a t kind of, so you got to figure something out. 11 decreased by a number w. So we're going to go 11 minus w. A number h times 8. Well, 8h, or 8 parentheses h. Both of those work. A number n divided by 2. N divided by 2. The difference of 7 and a number f. Okay? Difference means subtract. Twice a number p. 2 variable p. A number t cubed. Okay, so we have this t, and it's being cubed, and that means to the third power. So, yeah, we don't get into a whole lot of exponents yet, but eventually you'll need to know what cubed and squared and other things mean. All right, I had a little malfunction, so those kind of got erased, but hopefully you were able to, if you could rewind and get them if you need to. So, number 13, give 2 ways to write the expression or phrase. Okay, 6 plus p, or 6 more, oh, I'm sorry, we could go like this. So I like this one better. P more than 6. So both of those ways work. Okay, so the number 14, 9 times m, or you could do the product of 9 and m. Those both work. Okay, number 15, write the phrase as an expression, then evaluate it. Okay, So we're kind of putting what we did yesterday with substitution together with what we are doing today. So 7 more than the quotient of a number. Oh my gosh, look at that. There's so much going on. So let's just focus on a little bit at a time here. So 7 more than the quotient of a number y and 5. Well, 7 more than means we're adding it, and we have that than in there. But let's talk about this first. Quotient of a number y and 5. We know how to write that, so let's write that. The quotient of y and 5. And then what's this 7 more than? So what came first? Did the 7 come before, or did this quotient of a number y and 5 happen first, and then we're adding 7 more to it? That's what happens. So it would be plus 7. Okay, now it wants us to figure out what that is by plugging y in. So let's do that. Let's go 15 divided by 5 plus 7. So that would be 3 plus 7, which is 10. So our answers, there's 2 to it. 2 answers there are both of those. Okay, so twice the sum of a number x and 8. So 2 times the sum of x and 8. So there we go. So now it wants us to plug in x. So we're going to plug a 3 in here. So that really is 3 plus 8, which is 11, times 2, which is 22. Okay, so our answers are this and the 22. Okay, let's look at 17. You earn $7 for every half hour that you babysit. Complete the table. Okay, so how much do I earn in 1 hour? 7, 2, 14, 3, 21, 4, 28. 5 times 7 is 35. 6 times 7 is 42. 7 times 7 is 49. 8 times 7 is 56. And we're done. So now it wants us to write an expression for the amount you earn after 8 hours. So I know that I'm going to work, hours means, or H means just hours. So what am I doing here every time? Well, I'm 7 timesing the hour. So if I just go 7H equals money symbol, or you can call it whatever you want. 7H equals X even, because we don't know how much money we're going to get, but we can use a variable to represent that. So I want you to understand about variables right now is they represent something that we don't know. And so if I write X right here, that means that I don't know what it is because I don't know how many hours. But this will work. This expression works for however many hours I work because I'm getting $7 an hour. So if I work 100 hours, well, I can plug 100 in for here. 7 times 100, 700 will give me the answer. So that's what that really is we're just using this little expression here to represent what's happening in the real world. Okay, here is your assignment, and it is very similar to the practice. So if you watched me go through the practice and you filled it in, you can refer to that practice now and refer to my video if you need to know how to do this. And if you use your notes in your journal, you should be able to be successful at this assignment. So guys, I want to see what you can do on this assignment. If you do have questions, ask your teacher. That's why we're here. I have had so many students not ask me for help, and then they do an assignment and they do it wrong, and then I'm like, why didn't you ask me for help? And they're like, I don't know. So please ask your teachers to help you if you are not understanding something, because we can't read your minds. We need you guys to be take part in the learning process, and that means that you are like asking for help when you need it. None of us teachers are going to get upset with you if you ask us a question. I know sometimes we get frustrated because we have lots to do, but please ask us for help, and that's what we're here for, is to help you to learn. So good luck, guys, and we will talk to you tomorrow.